So today we have a updated pure CRYSTRON decklist that you saw in the 50-minute long video that I've made some time ago. It is basically the same list, but it is updated for the CRYSTRON format for both Master Duel and the TCG. So the difference between this list and the TCG list that I play is, of course, we don't have Maxi, so I'm playing Prosperity, and we don't have Baron, so I'm playing Levy Last Bull as the level 10 Synchro option. So this is also the list that I have gotten to Master with in this month. And there are some changes that are made specifically for the CRYSTRON format, so I'll go over it pretty quickly. We're still playing a bunch of hand traps. It's exactly the same hand trap lineup as before the CRYSTRON format, even though CRYSTRON isn't exactly that effective when you use hand trap against them. But the philosophy is basically the same as what I have talked about in my previous video, and you still want to negate as many cards your opponent is playing that are both good when you go first and when you go second, because even when you go first, you want these negates to supplement your board, and oftentimes when you get hit by hand traps like Ash Blossom, Fualos, you end on half boards, which you will really want these effect negations to complement your half board. So against CRYSTRON, you will want to basically hand trap them as much as you could, even if it is not that effective, but you still want to try to make them end on as few interruptions as possible. And other than that, we are also playing 2 Fistburn and 2 Salvador instead of 3 Salvador and 1 Fistburn in my previous list, and that's basically because Fistburn and Salvador play a pretty similar role in most cases. It is a pretty good 2-card combo piece, but sometimes Fistburn is better, sometimes Salvador is better, depending on what you have in your hand. But the biggest difference is that if you draw too many hand traps, Fistburn is a much better than Salvador, because if you have Fistburn plus 4 hand traps, you can just normal summon the Fistburn, pop itself, summon Tristaros, that's 5 interruptions. Because Tristaros is 1 interruption, and then you have 4 hand traps, and also it is guaranteed follow-up because you banish it from your graveyard next turn, and then you grab Smiger, that's full combo. But if you have Salvador plus 4 hand traps, you can't really do anything, so you just want to kill yourself. So if you're playing a large amount of non-engine like I am, it is not a bad idea to play more than 1 Fistburns, but you still don't want to play too many because it is a normal summon if you only draw it with nothing really to discard it. So if you draw it alongside Smiger, it's pretty bad. If you draw it alongside your tuners, it's even worse. But it is still a pretty good card if you have a way, like one of these high-level guys. That's why we're playing 2 Fistburn and 2 Salvador to prevent us from drawing duplicates too much, which is going to be really bad. For the extra deck, we are not playing the starters package, not because it is not good, because we just need space for specific tech cards that we are playing for this CRYSTRON format. So the first one is Navy Dragon Mech. This is something that people used to play in pure CRYSTRONs back when the deck first got support, and then people quickly realized that it's pretty bad because it only negates on a new chain. Like, you have to first quick synchro and then on a new chain negate your opponent's effects, which means it can basically only prevent ignition effects and not effects on summon. But in CRYSTRON format, this is specifically for when your opponent ends on Remix and then tags them into RS. It floodgates your field and makes all of your monsters increase their levels by 1, which means normally when you would use Tristaros plus Salvador to make a level 7, you would be making a level 9 instead, and Navy Dragon Mech is a level 9, which can immediately target your opponent's RS to force it out, to either negate its effects so you can beat over it and then also turn off its floodgate, or if they haven't used the effect of RS yet, they are forced to immediately use it on Navy Dragon Mech. And if they do that, what you can do next is banish Tristaros, pop the Navy Dragon Mech, summon a level 2 plus a level 3, which becomes a level 3 and a level 4 under RS, and then Navy Dragon Mech triggers as well to add back a tuner. It could be a hand trap from the graveyard, And then what you do is you go 3+4, make a Samurai Destroyer. This card normally is only there for Nibiru Insurance, even though Nibiru isn't really popular in CRYSTRON format. but it has other applications, right? Like in this situation, you can make Samurai Destroyer go to battle, attack DRS, it negates the effect of RS, and turns it back to its original attack, so it allows you to beat over it, and then you can combo in main phase 2. And that also works under Impulse, because Impulse stops you from using the effects, but Samurai Destroy does not activate. As you can see, there's no semicolon on this line of text, so it still works. The other card we're playing is Black Rose Dragon. This is to basically punish people that don't interact with your board early, and basically just board wipe decks that don't put out that many Omni Negates. So if you're playing against CRYSTRON, for example, if you can bait out the Zalin, or if they don't end on Zalin because you hand trapped them a few times, if you can end up with a situation where you normal summon Tristaros and then you use the effect of Self-Near to summon Sulfador, you are not machine locked, and you have level 7 worth of Synchro material. What you can do is immediately make a Black Rose. They weren't expected. You activate the effect, they can chain whatever they want, remakes, 1 Cool Tune Synchro, 2 Cool Tune Synchros, Cool Tune Clip, whatever, doesn't really matter, it's all being blown away immediately after they resolve. So Black Rose Dragon is pretty good in that situation, which also works under Impulse. So we're not making this during our opponent's turn, it is specifically to break boards in the least expected way possible, which will really catch people off guard when, especially when they are expecting you to be machine locked, and also when they are expecting you to just do the normal CRYSTRON combo. This can really win you the game on its own. And the other way, if you're not playing Navy Dragon Mech, or if they negate the Navy Dragon Mech, is to just use SP. SP is your most reliable way of outing pretty much any half board. You can make Clockwork Knight even when your opponent has RS up, because it only cares about the original attack, so it doesn't really matter what level your monsters are, and then you can still make SP, immediately threaten the RS if your opponent has it. And thing to mention for the deck in the TCG is, other than you replace Baron with Lemilasable because Baron is banned, you also might want to play a card called Packbit, because of its interactions with Harmonia, which is a really expensive card that I don't have access to. But if you are playing Harmonia and Pure Crystons, which you definitely should if you own Harmonias, you should play Packbit. Packbit is a level 8 synchro that when it is synchro summoned or when it's sent to the graveyard, you can put a monster back into the back row and you have to discard a card. So discarding a card doesn't really hurt the deck at all, basically. You sometimes even want your cards to be discarded. But Packbit serves 2 reasons. Other than you can send it with Harmonia to immediately trigger its effect, you can also just make it normally, because the entire reason why we were playing the Stardust package in the previous version of the deck is because we want a level 8 synchro that we can make during our opponent's turn. So what you would do is you would end on Tristaros plus any non-tuner level 3, usually a Fist Throne, and then on your opponent's turn, you activate Tristaros, quick effect to synchro, make Excel Synchron plus a level 3, you make a level 8 synchro, so normally it would be Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, and then that synchro summons again with, after you revive the Tristaros from the graveyard, and then you make a level 10 synchro. So that's how you usually do the combo with the level 8 synchro, but because we took out the Stardust package, we can alternatively just make Packbit as our level 8 synchro, and even though it is less good than making Baron, and obviously Baron is really good, it is still an alternative form of interruption that the deck otherwise does not have, because this non-destruction removes your opponent's monster from their field, which otherwise you would just be making a copy of Dragster if you don't have your Packbit, and Dragster only negates spell traps, which is, I mean, it's really good, but not necessarily a type of interaction that you might need in a given situation. So Packbit would give you that option of getting rid of bodies on the field if that is really good in the matchup that you're playing against. So with that said, let's have a look at some replays. So I've gotten a couple replays that I've recorded from my climb to master. This basically shows you the reason to play Pure CRYSTRON, because usually people play a bunch of different engines in Pure CRYSTRON to help with the consistency, But this is basically why you could just play Tidal and CRYSTRON in engine cards and play a bunch of non-engine, and that is sometimes even more optimal than trying to jam a whole bunch of different engines to make the deck more consistent. So our opponent has Fualos. We are not playing Paul By because we play through Fualos pretty well. Our opponent even has the Ash Blossom, which is one of the best hand traps, 1-for-1 hand traps against CRYSTRON is Ash Blossom. But we have enough to extend through that and also play under Fualos. We can add Citri. We haven't used our Noble Summon yet, so we can just Noble Summon our Citri. And then we can manage our spell card, summon back the Tristaros, set our Imperm, and then we still end on a pretty good half board. Our opponent will immediately go Fualos on main phase, which is a big mistake. If he were to Fualos, he should have done it during the draw phase, where I couldn't use the effect with Citri because I can only Citri during the main or battle phase, but because he did it during the main phase, we can chain both Tristaros and Citri to immediately tag out and give him 0 draws. So we'll do that. He will force out interruptions. We basically have 4 negates versus a 4-card hand. He has 1 Imperm for one of our Dragsters. We can Dragster negate his other spell card, and then he normal summons an Orchestra monster. So because he needs to discard for cost, we don't even need our 4th negate. We can just negate his last push, and then that is all he has. And well, we have all the follow-up we have in the graveyard, and plus we have enough guys on the field to just win the game. So yeah, that is going to be the end of the game. Alright, that's nice and all. Let's actually have a look at what the deck does against the meta deck. So we're playing against CRYSTRON. Even though we have Maxi, it's not very effective against his strategy because CRYSTRON is a deck that normal summons a whole bunch and also can end on a really good half board that gives your opponent like a single draw and still end on a whole bunch of interruptions. So we'll try our best to stop our opponent. So we don't really want to use any of our negates on his effects because we want him to activate his effects to give us more maxi draws, and then we would want to save our interruptions for his end board during our own turn. So Ghost Spell can negate Remix, and Impulse can negate CRYSTRON Synchro. He's gonna banish Ash Blossom because that actually checks one of his end board pieces, which is CRYSTRON Synchro. So banishing Ash is correct. And he gives us more extenders, which is, I guess, cool. But we have enough extenders in hand already. So immediately, we'll normal summon Tristaros. That immediately checks a large portion of his end board, because if he tries to do anything, we can immediately quick synchro into Dragster, and then the Dragster negates one of his spell traps. So we will do a bit of comboing. I don't think I have Black Rose in my extra deck during this replay, so we can just make Black Rose and immediately blow up everything. You know, if we could do that, we probably already won the game. But now we'll basically just combo off. We'll play as best as we could into his interruptions. We will make a Dragster as quickly as we could to check his back row. So we'll Dragster first, and then he activates a second KTS. We'll go and impulse that. And then he'll go try to clip. We will chain Tristaros, and he has a 7th hand trap. Even though Ghost Ogre will destroy our Tristaros, that doesn't actually prevent us from synchro summoning, because we can still summon monster from our deck, and then we only need to synchro summon using the thing that we summon. It doesn't have to use the Tristaros itself, so we can still end on an El Skelters. After the whole chain resolves, we basically negate everything else. But he will still end on a Remix, which is still annoying, and we can't negate the Remix anymore because we already used the Impulse. So that's another annoying thing. Usually this is a really easy negate with Bell. We can just hit the Remix and then we win the game, but we couldn't because we used the Impulse, which is unfortunate. You know, sometimes it happens with sequencing that you can't really control. But he doesn't really have a lot left, so as long as we could outgrind him, we could win the game. So he's gonna activate a whole bunch of effects. Crackle will banish stuff on my extra deck, but thankfully we don't really have that much important cards in our extra deck for him to really rip. And also the cards that he rips come back during the end phase anyway. He's gonna rip the Quarion, which means we couldn't summon it to banish his field. But we still have ways to beat his board. We'll summon a whole bunch of guys from our deck. Self-Liveneer not only is a level 5 monster, it also just has a bunch of attack, which is pretty useful in simplified board states to just use to punch your opponent with. So we'll probably we'll basically punch over everything, and then we also have cluster access, which is really good in simplified board states like these. So he's gonna summon his tuners, you know, just trying to get as much as he could, and then we could just use our cluster to pop his entire field. So right after he used both of his normal summons, we can immediately pop his 2 tuners. He couldn't synchro summon, he has 1 set card, it's not gonna do anything, and even if it does, we have so much follow-up, it's actually insane. Like, the amount of follow-up that this deck has is one of the biggest reasons to play this deck. So our opponent has Clip. Honestly, it's fine even if it resolves, but we drew Impulse, so why not negate it, right? So we can bring back the title as well, just to have more damage, and then let's not drag this for too long. We just go in and attack for lethal. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.